Dr. Gottlieb, thank you so much for joining us. I guess if you can give us a rundown of your understanding of where we stand with the plan for booster shots and why it is the way it is.
Well, look, the administration needs to be able to back into some approximate date in terms of when they're going to roll out booster shots. We know there's going to be booster shots made available to some component of the population, particularly older individuals who were vaccinated a long interval ago, and particularly in the nursing homes where you have a very vulnerable population. I think that we want to get booster shots made available to that population at some point, given the way the data is emerging. If the administration wants to be in a position to do that, they need to be able to back into some approximate deadline, because it takes time to get the logistics in place to roll out vaccines in those settings. And we saw that with the Trump administration. After the vaccines were authorized, it took about 6 to 8 weeks to mobilize an effort to get the vaccines introduced into the nursing homes. And at that time, we were losing about 10,000 people a week in the nursing home settings. So that delay was unfortunate. And so if you want to avoid having a situation where you have a long delay between the time that the boosters eventually get authorized and the time that you actually can make them available to people, you need to know what the approximate date's going to be. So I think that's what the administration has tried to do. Now, in terms of that September deadline, the reporting today, it's unclear really to me what that reporting is saying, whether or not this is going to be a delay in terms of the authorization of some of the boosters, some of the company's products, or all of the boosters. The way I interpreted some of the reporting is that some of the manufacturers, Moderna in particular, could be delayed because the FDA may ask for more information. That's how I read the New York Times report.
And are we talking about the need for boosters at all? Because of the initial group that was part of the study for the vaccine is now showing that their immunity has worn down?
Yeah, there's evidence that there's a decline in immunity over time. It's more pronounced in older individuals. A lot of that data comes out of Israel, where Israel has undertaken a broad campaign to make boosters available to their population. But there's also evidence of declining effectiveness in the U.S. trials as well. You see declining efficacy over time, not against hospitalization. The vaccines are very protective against severe disease, and that seems to hold up. It's protection against infection and also protection against less severe disease, where you see a decline in efficacy. And the concern is that if you start to see a decline in efficacy against any symptomatic infection, even mild infection, eventually that's going to translate into more severe infections, particularly in a vulnerable population. And that's really the impetus for providing the boosters. The first two doses were provided so close together that they probably really served as two primes and not really a true booster. This third dose probably is going to serve as a true booster in terms of inducing immune memory and longer term, a more durable response. There's a lot of vaccines on the market that require 3 or 4 doses before you really get immune memory. So it's not unheard of to require multiple doses of a vaccine before you induce a more durable immunity.
Is that space between the two vaccines your main thought for why we've seen the Delta surge persist longer in the U.S. versus places like the UK, or are there other lessons that we can learn from those differences in order to kind of best prepare for the future to prevent these types of lasting, persistent surges?
Well, look, I think the bottom line is we didn't have a lot of our population vaccinated, and the unvaccinated population, the portion of the population that remained unvaccinated, was socially and geographically clustered. And Delta is very good at finding pockets of susceptibility, finding its way into those communities and infecting people. I think at this point, given how pervasive the spread of Delta has been, at least in the South, combined with the fact that we have immunized a good portion of the population at this point, about 60%, you're building enough population-wide immunity that this is going to stop spreading at the rate that it is. I think the North and the Northeast still are going to have a wave of infection from Delta. But on the back end of this, hopefully this is the last major surge of infection we have to deal with. And we're going to have enough immunity in the population, either through natural immunity acquired from infection or vaccination or both, that you're going to stop seeing coronavirus spread with the same velocity that it is right now.